Welcome to part 2 of reminiscing through our former teams, doing our Campus to Champions Journeyman save, as we'll be going through the final 3 teams that we managed. So that'll be PSV Eindhoven, Lazio and Liverpool. And we'll also be going through our team of the save as well. So I've put some sort of self-imposed rules on my team of the save. So seeing as we manage 6 clubs, we can only pick 2 players per side, because otherwise my best team will probably be my Liverpool team. Because let's be fair, you know, Cameron Archer of Swansea Uni is not going to be competing with Kolovic or Krasniqi up front. So we can only pick 2 players per team. So that does mean that one team will only have 1 player. But I think that 1 player is worth about 10 in the side. So we'll be looking at that towards the end of this episode. But for now, let's have a look at the likes of PSV, Lazio and Liverpool. Well, Liverpool we've already just left, but as far as Lazio and PSV go, how have they got on since we left? What's going on, guys? My name is Adam, I am a Super Swan, and welcome to Club 6, episode 29 of the FM20 Campus to Champions. And let's have a look at the likes of PSV and Lazio and how they've got on since we left them, and have a look at some of the players that helped us along the way. So these ones will be a lot more recent than the last episode, because realistically we were at Lazio only 5 seasons ago, which, you know, might not sound a lot, but a lot can happen in 5 years. So we did leave AIK to go to PSV, so we did win the league both seasons we were there. I think the last year we won every trophy there was to win at PSV. So let's have a look and see how they're getting on. So we took over them in the 25-26 season, and they've won the league every year since. So, you know, we took over. We were very lucky at PSV because the manager previous to myself retired from the game. So it wasn't as if they sacked him because of a poor performance. It was because he retired. So we already had inherited a very strong team going into PSV. And I think the first year, we only signed Glenn Green, I think, in the first year. And we still managed to win the league over Ajax. And they have dominated Ajax ever since. So it's good to see that they've sort of continued that domination. And I know when I've been managing Lazio and Liverpool, they have been getting to the latter stages of the Champions League. So PSV are now a very strong side, and, you know, they're a 4-star reputation team now. I would say they're probably better than Lazio at this point. But we'll have a look at some of the players that we had at PSV. And we're going to start with, I would say, is my favourite goalkeeper of this save, Fernando Hermoso. We already know that he made his big money move to Watford in the Premier League. And if we look at him, you know, he was our first, I think, wonder kid from Argentina that we brought in. 6.5 mil. He was already a big hit. We had him, I think, we didn't have him the first year. I think we only had him the second year that we were at PSV. And he had a really good season, but it was obviously after we left that he really shined, where he only conceded 13 goals in his first year, 15 in his second and his third, with 7.2 and 7.1 average rating. So he was a standout goalkeeper in the Eredivisie. And you can tell here that £59 million, a very healthy profit on the 6.5 that PSV spent on him. And he's established himself as a Premier League goalkeeper. 49 caps for Argentina, so he's Argentina's #1 as well. And, you know, I can only think that, is he going to stay at Watford for his whole career? I think there's a move. I mean, he's worth 29 mil. I would look at him for Liverpool if we didn't have Brangman, to be fair. So, Hermoso, he's got a big career ahead of him. We're going to look at another one of my former wonder kids, which was Alisson Klaus. So I think he was the first Brazilian wonder kid that I'd signed. And I think we only had him when he was 18, because he's only 23 at the moment. He's a world-class midfielder. And look at those attributes. He's a very solid deep-lying playmaker. Again, I would look at him for Liverpool as a potential backup, but we're already stacked in midfield, to be fair. He's worth £40 million. And we bought him in for 17 mil from Gremio back in 26-27. 7 goals, 5 assists, 7.38. So the season we had it was his best year. He's gone on to stay at PSV and at least, 9-10 goal contributions a year, which is very good from a deep-lying playmaker. So Alison Klaus, I don't think he's got any caps for Brazil. No, he hasn't. So he could be playing for Holland. I mean, does he qualify for Holland? He is Dutch. He could play for Holland. Now that would be a turn up for the Bucks if he doesn't play for Brazil. But 176 appearances for PSV since we signed him. And Alison Klaus has carved himself a very good career. And at 23 years old, he's got his whole career ahead of him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to his career as we go on. But a player that was already at the club was Mohamed Hadji. He's still at PSV, 27 years old, no caps for Holland, so he didn't get called up for the Netherlands at all. But he was very hot and cold, I think, for when we had him. When he turned up, he was absolutely amazing. But the question was when he turned up, because I remember at one point during the season when we had him, he went through a massive goal drought. But let's have a look. So we had him here. These are the 2 seasons we had him. So the first season he did really well, 18 goals. It was his best season by far, but he hasn't really hit the heights since then. I mean, yeah, he hasn't hit double figures since that season. So that must have been a freak season for Mohamed Hadji. But, he chipped in with about 5 goal contributions, 11 there, 5 there, 10. So he's normally good for about 10 goal contributions, which is goal and assists during the season. But, yeah, I think I hyped him up a bit more than he actually was. But he's loyal to PSV, and he's had 155 appearances, 48 goals, and he is still at PSV. We've got, I think this guy will probably still be at PSV, I reckon, and he is Rick van Drogelen, the centre-back, no nonsense. He just does what's asked of him. I think he was our captain when we were there. He is still at PSV, although he is wanted by West Ham. So 33 years old, experienced centre-back. And where do we have him? I think we would have had him in these 2 seasons here. So 4 goals in the season we had him. And he's only scored 1 goal since, but he's a centre-back. What do you expect of a centre-back? He had 4 assists in that season, so it'll be interesting how he managed to get 4 assists, unless he's on corners. But, very solid. He's always hovering around about a 6.9 for PSV. And, very, very solid centre-back. The next player on our list, let's have a look. We got Ritsu Duan. Now, there's a story behind Ritsu Duan. So he's now playing out in Club America. So he's out in Mexico, of all places. 33 years old, Japanese international. He was a fantastic player when we were at PSV. He could play either side. So I think we normally put him on the right, but I know he could play on the left as well. I think we kind of swapped him around where we needed to. And this is an interesting story. So he played really well for us. 10 assists, 7 goals in the first season. Not so much the second year. And then Chelsea came in with a £43 million bid. So we went, absolutely, go for it, take the money. He made 1 appearance for Chelsea, went on loan to Nice for a season, and then they sold him for 8.5 mil. What a massive loss that was for Chelsea. 6.5 as well, so it was a really poor game in his 1 appearance. And then they got absolutely rinsed, and he sold him to Club America. So that's probably the easiest money I've made throughout this save for a club. But Chelsea, I'm not sure what you were thinking when you bought him for 43 mil. But, obviously helped PSV massively. But Ritsu Duan, 33 years old now, so he's coming to the end of his career. He's lost a lot of his physicals, but his technicals and mentals are still there. But 5 goals and 78 appearances, he seems to be doing alright for himself out in Mexico. And then the last player we're going to look up is another interesting story as far as a sale goes, was Mikel Buchenhoren, the striker we had at PSV. And look at him, he's an absolute class striker. again, inconsistent, I would say, at PSV. He didn't always get the goals he should have. But again, you can tell by the attributes, a very solid player. So after he left us, so we took him over here. So 10 goals in the first season, 12 in the second. Didn't hit double figures for the next 2 seasons. And then he left on a free transfer. So PSV must have tried to renew his contract. It can't have gone very well as far as the negotiations go. But he went on a free. A player of his quality going out on a free transfer. Absolutely incredible. So Miguel Buchenhoren, 28 years old, 24 caps, only 4 goals for his 24 caps. Kind of says it all, really, as far as a striker goes. And probably, so they made money on Rutsuduan, they lost money on Buchenhoren. Kind of evens out, really, I would say. So that is it for PSV. They are now a dynasty in Holland, and Ajax are going to have to do a lot of work to try and catch up to them and try and get some more league titles, as PSV doing very well for themselves. So the club 5 was Lazio. So we go to the job history. So we won everything with PSV in that second year. Lazio wasn't as successful. We only won, I think it was the Europa League Cup Conference 2. That was the only trophy we won. It was about, and the first year we almost won the league, and the second year we absolutely collapsed. I think it was for about a couple of months we lost every game, and it did cost us in the end. So where did we take them over? So we would have been here. So before we took over at Lazio, they were languishing 7th place 3 years running, but then we took them over and they came 2nd and 3rd, and now Diego Simeone's in charge, and they've come 5th, 4th, and they've come 4th again this year. So very much a top 4 team in Italy. 4.5-star reputation with Simeone in charge. And we'll have a look at some of the players that we had at Lazio. The first one being Juninho. And some of these players, in fact most of them will probably still be at Lazio unless they've had a big move. But Juninho was our star centre-back alongside Bedini. And some of you might be thinking, well, why didn't you buy Juninho instead of Bedini? Because Juninho was always the better centre-back out of him and Bedini. And there's one reason why. So I've been scouting him for a long time. And, he'd fit in nicely. He's a 4-star current ability, 4.5-star potential. So he'd be 4th choice behind Lewis Clark. But there's 3 reasons why. He's not very good at adapting to another country. He doesn't enjoy big matches. And he's fairly susceptible to injuries. So 3 of the big things I was like, yeah, I'll sign Bedini instead. But, he's still a top draw centre-back. I mean, 30 caps for Brazil, 25 years old. He's in the prime of his career, and look at those numbers. Those attributes are fantastic. So I'm sure it won't take long before a top club does come in for Juninho. I mean, he's already at a big club in Lazio, in all fairness, so, it's not like he's not already a big club, but you think the likes of Madrid, Barcelona, some of the big English teams would have come in for him. Apparently not. But Juninho, still enjoying life out in Italy. It is half time in the video. Thank you for reaching this far. YouTube advises me that over 2/3 of watchers are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, go drop a subscription down there and help support the channel. Be very much appreciated. And if you're already subscribed, thank you very much as always. So I'll let you carry on with the rest of the video. Hopefully you are enjoying so far. And then I think the best player we had at Lazio was Antonio Jesus Requena, the midfielder with £60 million, 28 years old. He's in the prime of his career. He's an elite midfielder. And again, I mean, look at these numbers thinking, I'd sign him for Liverpool, but we're stacked in the middle, in all fairness. And plus he'd cost me 157 million, so I think that's off the table. But how's he done in the last 3 years since we left? So the season we left, 7 goals, 5 assists, 7.25. He's had a 7.2 average rating since we left. He's an absolute top draw midfielder. And like I say, has he got caps? Yeah, 20 caps for Spain. So again, an elite midfielder for Lazio and probably the best player we had at the club. And then a player that I have very much a love-hate relationship with, and that was Dougalau. Now, Dagalau, he's at Schalke now, so he's gone to Germany. But Dagalau, right, on his day was unbeatable. He'd score goals for fun on his day. And you look at his attributes, right, he's got all the attributes you need for a top-draw striker. But the problem was that he didn't really turn up half the time. And how's he done at Schalke since he left? So, I mean, the first year we signed him, look, he'd already scored goals everywhere in Brazil. And the first year, he scored 12 goals in his first year. So I was like, oh my God, yes, we've got ourselves a brilliant striker. And then the second year, yeah, he just halved his goal contributions. Only scored 6 goals, only 2 assists. And he kind of went, not bothered anymore. So we left. And then Simeone must have said, yeah, we're not having him. And they sold him for only £10 million, which is quite a cheap price if you think about it. But then he scored 18 goals in the Bundesliga. And again, it shows you at Schalke. First season, 18 goals, fantastic. Second season, 11 goals. Still a good contribution. Third season, he's only scored 4 goals and 7 appearances. So clearly he's dropped out of favour at Schalke. But Dagalau, very much a love-hate relationship with him. But on his day, he's an absolute proven goal scorer. We're going to have a look at another player. We've got Rodrigo Andres, a right back. We scored quite cheap for Lazio. He's moved on. He's not at Barcelona. So he's gone back to Spain after we signed him from Atletico Madrid. 44 million. He's got 2 caps for Spain. Another right back. So Spain at right back, they've got Rodrigo Andres. They've got Nathaniel Ario and Victor Gallen to fight for 3 right back places. I tell you, Spain have got a lot of good right backs in their current system. But again, we signed from Atletico for 7.5 mil. He had 3 really good seasons. 6 assists, 4 assists and 6 assists. So again, really good stats for a right back. And then Barcelona snapped him up for 33 million. Very healthy profit on him. And it's his first season out in Barcelona. So he's doing all right for himself in Barcelona. We got one more from Lazio, and that is Zagadou, if I can spell his name right. So Zagadou, Dan Axel Zagadou, there we go. He's a centre-back in China. Well, he's out in China now, and he's making a fair whack, isn't he? 165 grand a week. And again, a very solid centre-back we had at Lazio, and they eventually sold him for £36.5 million. So they very much made his money back on what they signed him for, a good sort of 7 seasons before. And again, he was just a very solid centre-back, really. Him and Juninho at the back, before Badini came in, Zagadou was one of the top drawer centre-backs there. So, yeah, Zagadou, he's done well for himself. And if we look at Lazio again, we brought them back up to where they should be. They've we've brought them up a tier. Because before we took them over, they were very much a, Europa League team. But now, very much a Champions League team at Lazio. And then, of course, we joined Liverpool. And if I go back to my profile, we'll have a look at our time at Liverpool and the job history. So we've been with them for 3 years. The first year, we won the Premier League. We won the FA Cup. Second year, we didn't win anything. We crashed out of every competition. I had good old Alphonse Clerc on my back, almost sacking me multiple times. But then we did hang on to our job, and we proved Alphonse Clerc right, as we did win 4 cups, the Premier League, the FA Cup, the Community Shield, and the Champions League. And to be honest, I don't need to look at our players here, as we're very familiar with the squad at Liverpool. And I don't think there's 5 players I'd like to pick out from that side to look at in depth, because, well, they're at Liverpool. They're already here. So there's not much to really talk about. So I think the only thing now is to show you the team of the same, and I'll talk you through the positions that we've got in that team. So through the power of editing, I've got the pitch on the screen in front of me. I've got it on my monitor, so I'll talk you through each position. So as I say, I can only pick 2 players per team. So otherwise, it'd be the whole Liverpool formation. So this is the team of the save. since our 12 years as a manager. In goal, we got Hermoso, represented by the red of PSV. Again, I think he was my favourite goalkeeper throughout the save, and the fact he's moved on to Watford shows he's a top draw goalkeeper. I don't think he'll be at Watford in 10 years' time. I think he'll get a big money move to a good side. Right back, we got Nathaniel Ario, our first ever wonder kid. He came in at AIK, and he did a very good job. In fact, we loaned him when we were at Lazio, so it showed that he grew throughout the save as well. He's at right back, with Van Drogelen at centre-back for PSV. Like I say, no nonsense, just got the job done. He was the captain at PSV as well. I think he probably captained this side as well. So Van Drogelen, he's partnered by the 6'8", the 10-foot tall tank that is Bill Lewis. He's representing Swansea Uni, even though we had McLean Toran as well, but he's at Swansea Uni for this formation. So imagine that, Bill Lewis, 6'8", and Van Drogelen at centre-back. Just two absolute units at the back. No one would go past them, unless you were like really quick and just darted in between them. But you know, as far as height goes, no one was winning anything in the air against those two players. Gallen's at left back, which I know he's out of position. I know he's a right back, but Victor Gallen can technically play left back. So he gets in for Liverpool, only because I think he developed so well when we brought him in. It was our first season we brought him in, quite cheap, I think 30 mil we bought him for, and he's already turned into a 4.5-star right back. I think he is Spain's #1 right back, ahead of Ario. So Victor Gallen, he's been one of my favourite players to watch develop. So he gets in the side, representing Liverpool. We've got Requena, who's representing Lazio. He gets in, and he was our best player at Lazio. He scored our very first goal when we were Lazio manager. He's a player that could step up to a big side, but I think 157 million is a bit of a hefty price tag to pay for Requena. But a very solid midfielder, and he gets in representing Lazio. Biasoli gets in for Liverpool, and I kind of touched upon this in the penalty shootout, but Biasoli was never first choice at Liverpool. It was always Turkas and Albriac. They were the two starting midfielders. And Biasoli would play the cup games, rotate in when he needed to, and in our first year, won Player of the Season. And he wasn't even first choice. So he was very underrated. He never, he scored the important goals. He always turned up. He always gave a performance. And karma comes back around because Biasoli scored the penalty to win the Champions League final. And just for that fact alone, he gets into this team representing Liverpool as Biasoli, partnering Requena in the midfield. We'll start on the left-hand side. Froling gets in for AIK. Again, one of our best players we had when we were at Sweden. He did the job for us on that left-hand side. I think he was an inside forward, so he'd cut in, get the goals we needed, and the fact was that he got into our favoured personnel. He got into our former players shortlist. And there could have been different players I put in on that left-hand side, but of course I can only put in 2 players per team, and I looked through the AIK players, and I thought, you know what, Froling deserves a place in that side. So Froling makes the side on the left. Mark Helm gets in the side in the middle for Swansea Uni. I think a man that he should have stayed. He should have stayed at Swansea Uni. He's seen the lights of League 2 with Mansfield, but he should have stayed. He wouldn't have retired at 24 if he had stayed at Swansea Uni, but that 1 year he had with us was an outstanding year. He was such a good player in that 1 year at Swansea Uni. I mean, the fact that all league clubs were looking at him shows what type of player he was. So Mark Helm, he gets in the attacking midfield position. And another player that's slightly out of position is Doug Alau. He gets in on the right. Like I said before, he's a love-hate player. When he was good, he was so good but it was when he was good. But looking at the Lazio side, I mean, there are other players I could have put in there, but Doug Alau, I think, was the man. I almost put Bruno Mir in there, but because we spent 76 million on Bruno Mir. But Doug Alau, yeah, he gets in. He's going to be on that right-hand side for us. And of course, there's only one man that was ever going to start up front. The one representative from Glentoran. He could have represented any team barring Swansea Uni, but he gets in the one player representing Glentoran, and that is the one and only Glenn Green. Followed us around in our career, scored goals everywhere he went. You know, when we see him in our academy at 15 years old, he was already a starter in the Danks Bank Premiership. He got 20 plus goals in his first season. And, you know, I could be here all day talking about Glenn Green. What a player he was. And he's going to be the player that I remember the most from this journeyman save. But that is it, my friends. That is the end of the recap. So we split into two parts because there's a lot of players to go through. So what we'll do, we'll round this whole series up next time with one last episode. And we'll go 10 years in the future. So where will all these players be in 10 years? What will the landscape of football look like in 10 years? Will any of these players still be around? Will any of them be managers? Will they be staff? Will Liverpool dominate the Premier League? Because they've got the squad to dominate for the next 10 years. So there's going to be a lot of questions that need answering. And we'll find out next time as we go into the future for 10 more years. But leave a like if you enjoyed, guys. Subscribe to the channel for more Football Manager 2020 content. We will be uploading Campus the Champions one last time every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 6 PM BST. And tune in next time for the final episode of Campus the Champions as we go 10 years in the future to see what happened next. Thank you very much for watching.